So I wanted to start my presentation by saying that I've had an affinity for startups for a really long time now. So much so that I actually named my dog Google. He's a little camera shy right now. Anyway, the organization that I've chosen to focus my paper on is a startup that I began working with a few months ago, but that I feel has a really bright future and that I'm really excited about. And with this short presentation, I would like to first give you some background on what it is our company does, and secondly, provide a sort of cause-effect analysis of the way that our internal company operations could be improved to be more efficient, and how that, in turn, can very positively affect our external communications and our external branding for our current audience and for additional consumer groups that we'd like to add to our market. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. In the words of author John Green, the evolution of Pre-Med HQ happened in the same way you fall asleep. Slowly, then all at once. The company is the brainchild of one of my college friends who created a simple WordPress blog aimed at college students at our undergraduate institution, UC San Diego, who were on the pre-med track. Shad, our founder, researched and wrote various articles and study tips for the MCAT, which soon attracted the attention of students on campuses outside of UCSD. Eventually, requests for paid and customized coaching services started coming in, and this was the hallmark of Pre-Med HQ's launch as a full-service educational resource company. In the span of a little over a year, Pre-Med HQ went from being an idea cooked up in a dorm room, to a blog, to a company who employs nearly 10 people to keep it afloat. Now, the reason for me writing this paper is that I'm in charge of marketing and outreach, and I've been trying to find new ways to extend our market beyond our current college-age demographic. Developing the service platform, meaning the website and resource offerings, was the initial priority for Pre-Med HQ. Building brand equity is something that we've just recently started working on, and it's time to expand beyond our college-age audience into other consumer groups who could benefit from knowing who we are. The problem that we are facing right now is our limited resources. We only have a team of 9 people who all have full-time commitments. This is a side hustle for most of us, and all of us are located in various time zones across the country. You can imagine that coordinating campaigns and organizing outreach strategies can be quite the challenge between 9 people, 9 part-time people. The disruption occurring in our day-to-day operations expends valuable time that could instead be used to develop our brand identity. In my paper, I argue that we could take steps to improve virtual communication and ensure the least amount of disruption. Streamlining our cross-team coordination will alleviate the strain on current resources, which can instead be used for building brand equity and attracting more consumer groups. I've divided the process for my proposed solution into the 4 phases of implementation that you see here. For the purposes of time, I won't be commenting on the individual pieces of research I conducted to reach these conclusions, but I did want to note that each of these phases reference concepts that were gathered from the various sources in my bibliography. Our company founder has always been adamant that each member of the team should feel autonomous and fully accountable for each of our projects and clients. Command-style communication, or rather, the manager-subordinate relationships that are often characterized as mechanistic elements, are not employed. Research has shown that highly organic, top-level leadership can psychologically empower employees, but role expectations are sometimes difficult to discern. As Pre-Med HQ continues to add more staff, adding light mechanistic procedures, for example, assigning a consultant the specialized role of collecting progress reports, would eliminate the founder's barrage of weekly emails that update him on our individual projects. Once a person is assigned the task of coordinating activities between staff members, basically a project manager, there are various online platforms that can help with cross-coordination. Because of the time differences among clients, coaches, and staff, the Pre-Med HQ team has defaulted to using email, which, as I'm sure you all know, can be an extremely time-consuming form of communication. If we were to employ new technologies of tracking progress, and there are many out there, Basecamp and Trello are a few examples, we'd be able to not only keep a better record of activities, but also eliminate delay in response time. Online project management apps are cost-effective and have a solid return on investment. Most of the team works part-time, and labor hours are too valuable to spend on back-and-forth emails. Alright, so here's the big one. Pre-Med HQ is still in its embryonic stages of development, but has already gained a pretty good following with the local undergraduate community. Much of this can be attributed to individual networking, but we want to think bigger. The first thing we need to do is develop a strong but simple identity that people across the pre-med community, from students to parents to career counselors, can identify. Keller's model of customer-based brand equity, shown here, provides a starting point for answering 4 basic questions that consumers ask themselves when considering a brand. Pre-Med HQ is currently grappling with the third question regarding response. The struggle with consumer response is not a foreign phenomenon for most early startups, since many people tend to be wary of any new players in their market. Classification of services is one way to neatly package our company's service offerings and tailor strategic practices for the 3 audiences that we're trying to target: students, parents, and schools. We've actually pursued a classification that challenges the big box approach to college admissions prep. Part of a marketing strategy is to build upon peer-reviewed research that points to the importance of testing aptitude, like scoring well on the MCAT, in medical career success. Brand equity won't happen overnight, but organizing our messaging and classifying our services will certainly expedite the time that it will take for people to understand what it is that we do. Several news publications have already spoken out against expensive test prep services that do not seem to yield results for these students. This is an indicator for the postmodern evolution of college admissions prep. Our goal isn't just to provide these paid coaching services, but more than that, to provide these free resources for students who may not have the means to pay for the alternatives in the market. I know I certainly didn't have the means when I was applying to college. Here's the action plan. Once we've got our internal coordination ducks in a row, I think it would be a good idea for the team to get together and collectively identify the answers to Keller's questions so that everyone has a good grasp of the brand identity that will be presented to the public. Next comes the fun part: planning and launching our outreach campaigns. In broad strokes, the campaign design should include the findings of peer-reviewed research in its messaging. The example I gave in my paper was an email campaign. We could send an e-blast containing relevant details of Pre-Med HQ's offerings, which would be distributed to guidance and/or career counselors in a school district. The message would not only emphasize how Pre-Med HQ could best serve the counselor's students, but it would also provide a free giveaway resource, maybe an infographic or limited time access to our insider database, that counselors could start to use right away in their interactions with students. This concludes the 4 phases of implementation and my presentation. Basically, if we implement light mechanistic features for organizational leadership and take steps to improve remote communication with a tool specifically designed for cross-team coordination, our team will have the extra time and flexibility to conceptualize and solidify brand messaging for the 3 main consumer groups that we'd like to target: students, parents, and schools. Thank you.